this decade, in the coming years, we are going to see the interest payments on our national debt exceed our entire defense budget, our entire military budget. We are going to be spending more money as citizens to pay down our debt than we are to fund our entire military. The reason why is because twofold. Number one, we have spent so much money as a government. We've printed so much money, we've spent so much money. And then number two, now interest rates have gone up so significantly. And every 6 months, we're seeing a new chunk of our national debt readjust at the higher interest rates. So now when you have this $32 trillion worth of national debt, well, when you're at 3% interest rates, it's not that big of a deal. But then when interest rates double to 6% or 7%, now it becomes a much bigger deal. Because now the payments start to rack up. Because now the amount of debt servicing costs you have to pay start to rack up. And the reason why this is significant to understand, I'm going to talk about the government first, and then I'm going to talk about corporations. From the government level is because how does the government fund its expenses? Well, they only have one source of income. You, me, taxpayers with tax dollars. And so when you pay money in taxes, the government generates its revenue. Now, when the government generates its revenue, it can pay for its things. It can pay for firefighters. It can pay for teachers. It can pay for police officers. It can pay for bridges. It can pay for its investments into wherever it wants to invest. And then it also has to pay for interest, which means now, as the debt servicing costs for the government rise, more and more of the tax dollars that the government generates have to go to pay down debt instead of investing into the country. And then the next issue is, well, what happens if the economy is slowing? Well, if the economy is slowing, that means, well, people lose jobs, right? Because you see bankruptcies and you see layoffs. If people lose their jobs, that's less tax dollars going to the government because, well, when you get paid a salary, part of your salary goes to the government. If you're not getting a salary, then that piece of your salary is no longer going to the government. Plus, businesses have to pay taxes on their profits. And if businesses are making less money, their profits tend to shrink. And if profits are shrinking, their tax liabilities are also shrinking because they have smaller profits to pay taxes on. Same with investors. You pay taxes on profits, right? If you sell an investment for a profit, you have to pay taxes. Well, if asset values begin to fall because the economy is slowing, that means generally investors will be making less money. If investors are making less money, less tax dollars for the government. So now let's analyze this. If we see a slowing economy, kind of like we've been seeing happen, and the economy continues to slow, that would mean less tax dollars for the government. Okay, that's, is what it is. But then it comes at a time where tax liabilities are rising, meaning the obligations of the government are also rising. Not just because the government is committed to do more things, but because the government has higher interest payments. Because now we've already seen the national deficit explode. We've seen the national debt explode. So the government has all this national debt that they have to pay interest on, and the interest payments are also rising. So you have the expenses of the government rising, while if we see a recession, the revenues are falling, which means more stress to pay these interest payments. Now, obviously, some people have proposed, why doesn't the government just print more money to pay off the interest payments? Well, that's like fixing the inflation by creating more inflation. So very dangerous slope to go down. Not something that is impossible, but something that you definitely want to be paying attention to because that's going to pose issues on our economy, pose stresses to our government in the coming years. So something you want to keep your eye on is the national debt and the interest payments, especially as tax revenues could potentially be falling. The next thing you want to pay attention to is what's going on the corporate debt side, because the corporate debt levels have been ballooning over the last number of years. Now, we did a full deep dive of this in Market Briefs. Market Briefs is my free financial newsletter where every day my team is breaking down what's happening in things like the economy, the housing market, the stock market, crypto, and the global economy. It's a fun, witty, and easy to read email. You can read it in less than 5 minutes every morning, and it will keep you up to date on what's happening, when it's happening, so you don't get blindsided by what's happening. So if you want to join Market Briefs, you can go to briefs.co/market. That's briefs.co/market, and I got the link for you down in the description below. If you enjoyed this short clip from my longer videos, here's another clip that I think you'll love. And while you're at it, if you're interested in learning more about how to start generating passive income, our team put together an amazing guide on how to start generating passive income for free. All you gotta do is click that button right over there. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.